Those who love films and web series always experience a dichotomy when it comes to titles coming out of SonyLIV. For the quality is something that makes us naturally recommend shows for the streaming platform to our friends and family, but disappointment creeps in as well when they don't really go out of their way to promote those same impressive titles. Irrespective, ever since the first teaser of Rocket Boys came out, I knew this was going to be something special. You know, sometimes when everything just seems right, seeing Sarbh and Ishwak Singh as Homi, Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai respectively, some of the best innovative minds of the Indian scientific community staring at the national flag being hoisted as they envision the future of a free India brought me goosebumps. That, followed by the backing of a producer like Siddharth Roy Kapoor and Nikhil Advani, individuals whose choices are something that I always connect with, barring Satyamev Jayate too, this one had all the ingredients going for it. Season 1 of Rocket Boys, available on SonyLIV, is an 8-episode series based primarily on the lives of Homi, Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai from 1940 to the end of the Indo-China War. The series chronicles the individual experiences, both professional and personal, and the unique relationship that they develop as they cross paths with one another at the Indian Institute of Science administered by C.V. Raman. Everything from being Cambridge students, the circumstances of the Second World War that makes them come back to India, the influence and involvement of Jawaharlal Nehru, the various avenues of innovation and science, from the contribution of Homi Bhabha to the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research or Vikram Sarabhai's technologically driven plea to the textile mills. The series beautifully makes us go on a journey when our country was a young and independent nation, full of complexities and many possibilities. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the series so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch it on SonyLIV or not. The underwhelming aspects. Dimly lit and the privileged Brit. The only gripe that I have about this show from a visual standpoint is how dimly lit most of the frames are throughout its 8 episodes. Even when the show presents its characters to be interacting with one another when it's bright and sunny, the creators gravitate towards really reducing the highlights and increasing the shadows of the frame. Over and above that, the sepia-like color palette of the series makes it very tough to understand what really is going on, especially in sequences that are shot indoors and in the evening through the rooms and corridors. The only character in my eyes that was slightly over the top is one of the privileged Britishers that comes in the early half of the series, who passes off racist remarks about Indians and just has a smug aura about him. I felt out of all the characters who did not put a foot wrong in this series with respect to their pitch and delivery, he was the only character that came across as slightly over the top. Manage your expectations. What I have learned from hearing Siddharth Roy Kapoor promoting this show is that the second season of the series is guaranteed. I'm presenting such information to you because there is more to come. For those who were expecting a conclusion that was going to be all sunshine and flowers, they might think that the concluding moments of this show were rather incomplete, but it is actually in hindsight set up perfectly for the second season. If you also know the lives of Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai, you exactly know why it was the perfect time to conclude season 1, as the chaos that will ensue in the era post 1965 even gets more interesting. So don't expect there to be a sense of closure when you finish this show. There is more to come, and honestly, I can't wait for the same. The good. Refreshing change. You know, when you look at mainstream films and even shows, most of the popular titles have protagonists as drug dealers, smugglers, gangsters, or what seems to be every 2 months a sportsman. Basically, whatever in the producer's mind can be sexy and interest audiences. The jaded connotation of an 8-episode series on 2 scientists not working in the Indian market is only reflective of the restrictive mindset of producers. Because in my opinion, these are exactly the kind of stories that the masses want to see and wish can be celebrated on a global scale, as they make us genuinely proud as citizens of the country. I think this is the immediate sentiment that people felt when they saw the trailer of Rocket Boys, and just when you thought that this was exactly the story that we needed, APJ Abdul Kalam's entry just became the icing on the cake on why we all tuned in this weekend to watch this gem. So just as a viewer, my heart was very happy to tune in for something fresh that stands out in the landscape of the saturated content that comes week in and week out. Flawed humans versus gods. Technically, if you look at this series, it is a biopic of both the scientists and not only based on their work. I was seeing many people convey their sentiment on how disappointed they were with the fact that the show was showcasing their personal lives more than their contribution to the community. But I think the show strikes a right balance between both. The reason essentially for the show in my eyes to be almost flawless is that it doesn't treat the two people as demigods who can do no wrong. Oftentimes in biopics in Hindi cinema, we portray the men and women to be the most ideal humans who could never falter in their journey, and if they did, it was only because of the corrupt system around them. Rocket Boys beautifully showcases how even though these men were geniuses and contributed immensely to what India is today, they are still human, capable of faltering and making mistakes, making them real people. Something tough for people to fathom, but a reality one should accept. Patriotism the effective way. We have often spoken about when patriotism in films transitions to just become chest-thumping, nauseating jingoism, which doesn't come straight from the heart but is integrated into screenplays because there is an assumption that the audience will lap it up. Rocket Boys is a celebration of the great minds and our nation, but will never make you feel like it is force-fed to us. The screenplay develops in a very organic fashion, showcasing to us an arc almost immediately of two disgruntled minds coming back from Cambridge to a country that initially they assumed does not have potential, only to thrive, and wanting to work towards making India and the young minds future celebrated global innovators. The philosophical differences between Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai is what essentially captures their love for the nation. One who believes in winning by peace and diplomacy, and the other by an aggressive arms race. The contrast of both the characters, Homi being irreverent, dynamic and charming, and Vikram being reserved, straight-edged and cautious, yet connecting with one another for the love that they share for science, account for great philosophical debates that suck you right into the world, making me also want to be a wallflower and be transported to that time just to observe these great minds riff with one another. I don't need a forced speech to feel love for my country. Individuals like Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai naturally invoke that sentiment within me just through their actions. Performances and scenes. This series has been perfectly cast. I mean to the T. Jim Sarbh presents a performance for the ages. I can honestly not think of anyone better to play Homi Bhabha. The immediate Parsi connect and the vibrant personality, it couldn't be a better fit. Ishwak Singh showcases the much needed restraint required for a character like Vikram Sarabhai, a very mature and dignified poise in every frame he is in. These two, but especially Jim, have really hit it out of the park with this one. Rajat Kapoor is now protected from both ends of the spectrum, having played Narendra Modi and Jawaharlal Nehru in the span of just a few years. His integration into the story accounts for great scenes with other characters, especially with, as he likes to call them, his mad scientists. Regina Cassandra as Mrinalini looks absolutely stunning, and she plays a character that you will deeply empathize with. Sabah Azad is her charming best in this series, sharing great chemistry with Jim as well. What I can say is that I also want one day to have a Parvana that will take me through a library just with the sole intention of cheering me up. I have to also say that Dibyendu Bhattacharya is absolutely brilliant in this series as Raza Mehdi. His annoyance at the success of Homi Bhabha's ventures and the insecurity that creeps in this dynamic makes this series very exciting. He is an actor that has been working since 2001 with so many memorable characters, and he proves his mettle yet again. Several scenes pop into my mind regarding this show that stayed with me for a very long time, both for the content and the acting performances. Homi Bhabha reprimanding an entitled Britisher as the spectators cheered on for the roast session, him pointing out JRD's attire, highlighting the lack of self-sufficiency India has, or my favourite, confronting the Maharaja of Travancore in the PM's office. Both the writing and Jim's faultless performance really account for such memorable moments from the series. This is a show that deserves global acclaim, and one that Indians and India should be extremely proud of. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the show. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.